Welcome back to another episode of Uncensored. As you may be aware, it's been a while since the last new episode. Approximately 2 months. Actually, I believe it's been a little over 2 months. It's actually November 10th, 2017. As I make this, the last new episode came out on September 7th of 2017. I actually had attempted to upload another episode in between there. There was a problem with the episode, and I still have to go back and see if I can salvage it. No sound. That doesn't work. I mean, speaking as someone who went to film school, yes. There's a... Yeah, and I've got a fucking alarm going off, so... Hey, anything that can go wrong on one of these shoots does go wrong, and you can learn from my mistakes. And I'm going to shut this fucking alarm off, and we get a nice little tracking shot on the way. Okay. Back to the proper backdrop. Because seriously... My Sansevieria leaves. Awesome. I know I show these off a lot. Anyway. I have been a little distracted by some of the current events. Since the first episode, there's been a shooting in Las Vegas. Over 50 people dead. I believe it's actually 59 people died. And over 500 were injured. Some hurricanes where a whole bunch of people lost their lives or everything they owned. Wildfires in California. And more recently, a shooting in Texas. So, if you'll humor me for a moment here, and even if you won't, I'm going to do it anyway. I would just like for us to have a moment of silence for these individuals who lost their lives or lost everything but their lives, starting now. Okay. And when switching hands, I really have to remember that that's a bad place to hold the camera, where you just saw my finger. Now, there have been a lot of people suggesting that it's time we have a serious debate or a serious discussion about guns here in the U.S. where I live. And even as a gun owner, one shotgun, people, no assault rifles, no AK-47s, but speaking even as a gun owner, yes, it's time that we have a reasonable discussion about guns. And no, I'm not going to turn into one of these people that says get rid of all the damn guns, because one, that's not realistic, and two, I do still support the Constitution on some degree on this matter. That said, I question whether anyone needs to own an assault rifle. Basing my question on, yes, we have an amendment to our Constitution, stating, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, and there goes my fucking alarm again. That's not in the Constitution. Okay, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, I'm going to offer an argument here. Because some say that this means you should be able to own any kind of arms. Well, if we're going to be totally absolutist on this, does this mean I can own nuclear weapons? Would even the most staunch supporter of gun rights support my claimed right to own a thermonuclear missile if I were to attempt to obtain one, arguing the Second Amendment? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Something you must also bear in mind, at the time that the Bill of Rights was written, the most powerful gun of the time could fire at most 3 rounds without being reloaded. You didn't have these assault rifles with magazines capable of carrying hundreds of rounds that some people in Texas like to open carry into grocery stores and have themselves photographed doing so. Are these the kind of people who really have any business owning a gun? Yes, I'm aware how much of a hypocrite I sound like, especially considering there was an episode in Season 1 where I point a shotgun at the camera. Full disclaimer on that, there was nobody else on the other side of the camera. I pretty much do these one-man crew. It's something I can get produced, so I can kind of still at least have the illusion to myself of doing something with my film school degree until I get the funds put together from other ventures and, of course, the AdSense from this project to be able to make other, better projects. Because let's face it, people, this Uncensored is not that good. I'm not even sure anyone's ever watched an entire episode, and that's okay. Sometimes, when the economy bites you in the ass and you're still living with relatives when you're almost 40, and realizing, what the fuck am I doing with my life? You do what you gotta do. Even if it pisses a few people off, even if it isn't really that good. I've got haters. What's a few more? Haters are good for business anyway. Getting back to serious discussion about guns. What's wrong with background checks? Other than the fact that there have been situations where people just haven't bothered to do them. such as our own military, who failed to disclose in regard to the shooter in Texas. I forget his last name. First name's Devin with an I. But he was bad conduct discharged, and almost nobody knew this before the shooting. Somehow it slipped through the cracks, and he was able to get his hands on automatic weapons after a bad conduct discharge from the military. So yeah, background checks do need to be tougher. I live in Logan County, Ohio at the moment, and that's also where I bought that rifle that I own. The one gun in my gun collection. I was able to give them my name, my address. They do a quick background check with the sheriff's department. And yeah, the fucking alarm going off is going to be a theme because, well, my paycheck job is 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. and I'm shooting this at approximately, it's actually almost 2 o'clock now. I took today off. I took a vacation day, but I have an alarm that goes off at about 1 because I live like 10 minutes away, and I can be from my bed to the car in 15 minutes or less, including a shower. Yes. Nasty habit I picked up in film school. I used to sometimes wake up 20 minutes before my first class. But I lived a 3-minute walk away from my first class that semester, so I never had early classes that were too far away. I should totally do an episode on living on campus versus commuting. Because yes, I was one of those students who lived on campus at the age of 25 to 29. Well, to quote the narration at the end of TV movie called Truman, where the character says that her dad was late in life to do a lot of things. Yeah, I guess I'm one of those people who does things later in life too. I won't go into the whole details. Good film, worth seeing. It's on DVD out there. And not just because one of my followers on Twitter is in it. Although, if you do follow me on Twitter, I will happily drop titles of projects that you're involved in, as long as it doesn't seem creepy. That's going to be another episode. Words that kind of sound creepy. I really want to do a whole episode on this. I've lost my train of thought again. Yeah. If I can't have thermonuclear weapons, you don't need to have an assault rifle. Seems reasonable. Or extreme. And honestly, I'm going to close it out with another moment of silence for the people who have lost their lives between September 7th and November 10th in any of the tragedies that I've mentioned in this episode and any I have forgotten. Or not forgotten, but I mean, there may have been some I haven't been told about. There's really bad shit happens all over the world every day. Okay, we'll be back in 2 weeks with another new episode of Uncensored, and there may be special guests on this one. We'll see. Anyway, Mr. Trump, if you're watching, it's time to start the discussion. It's time to get the gun rights and gun control advocates together and begin the discussion to work on some kind of efforts to combat the shooting incidents that everyone can live with. Yeah, something that everyone can live with. I'm out.